Welcome to this grateful land, a land of peace, a land that is homing you with a solidarity, hug, peace that has been our permanent intention, our forever destiny to keep the peace in the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, but not a nihil peace, not a silent peace, but a peace that just can enjoy those that defend their independence, their sovereignty, and the right to the self-determination, and the right to voice life, future, and prosperity. Welcome, women of law all over the world that are here in Caracas City to share opinions, reflections, and also to seek for a joint voice to the work to defend the law. That is a way also to defend the sovereignty and peace. Welcome, lawmen from all world who has come here to Caracas. I want to greet in first place our President of the Supreme Trial, Marilyn Rodriguez, who is with us today, to the Foreign Minister of Venezuela, Ivan Gil, to the Deputy Prime President from the to the second Vice President, America Perez, Deputy from the Dialogue Commission, from the Sovereign and Peace Council, Gerardo Martinez, to the Chief of the Opposition Bloc of the National Assembly, Alfonso Campos, to the Secretary of the National Assembly, Alejandro Hernandez, Deputy Secretary, Deputies present here, President from the Group of Friendship, Dr. Elsie Gonzalez, that is the Doctor in Law, and that is going to bring in this symposium an important presentation to the guests from Venezuela and the whole world, represented from the Defensor of the People, law students, and representatives. I want to point out that with us there are Dr. Claudia Roca, President of the Latin American Jurists Association from Argentina, too. Dr. Freire Santana, President for the International Law Scientific and Vice Director from the sister country of Cuba, and members of the Liberty Organization from Colombia. We have also representatives from Blida, Argelia University, Argel University, the Organization for the Human Rights Defense and the People, from the lawyers from Ethiopia, the Order of Lawyers from Tunis, Internal Advocate from Welcome, from the Brazilian Jurist Association for Democracy, Chilean Association for Democracy, Bicentenary Just Capital from Chile, from the Patriotic Friends from Ecuador Front, from the American Association of Jurists in Panama, the Association from Against Violence in Peru, from the Investigation Studies Center from Syndicate of Workers. Welcome. From the United Parties from Brazil, lawyer from Greece, representative from the government in Nicaragua, from the International Association of Jurists in Western Sahara, Portuguese jurists, Movement for Justice, Social from Trinidad and Tobago, and from Italy, Popolo, Democratic lawyer from Socorro, jury from Salvador, University from Guatemala, and many other guests that are together with us from Mexico, Colombia, Guatemala, from association from and it is a very long list from representatives from the five continents that are today with us here, just to denounce and study. Because in the years to come, it will be dignified to study, to install a series of horrible instruments, simple lies, that they covered by power that they have, the main hegemon on this planet, that is in decadency, with a power not only military, lethal, but also with the control that they have of the means of communication, and mainly the new means of communication, the social web, where they install virtual realities that are absolutely different to the ones that are the real ones, absolutely different from the ones that we live, 30 million human beings that live here in Venezuela. It is very important that you can live this by yourself, the reality. Many of the visitors that are with us from other countries, they are stuck when they see the reality in Venezuela. They see that Venezuela is in peace, that our people like to be ready and enjoy Christmas as you could see in our streets. Reality is Venezuela is a place of house with doors open. Whenever you enter, you will receive a hug, an embrace, and the wish to have a coffee or to share a dish of food. That placement of lies, calumnies, the purpose is to violate the right, that violate the laws, that violate convention, that in last, this is the interpretation of a shrink opinion. Laws are conventions between human beings to live in peace. Those lies and its consequences don't have another goal than a maximum wave of aggression to promote a change of regime, to substitute the constitutional government for more than 30 electoral processes, to substitute with just one goal. And they say it, shamefully they say it. They say it. What we want is the oil. It's not a fight against narco-traffickers. There is another intention, the true intention. If they had that intention, or the formats that they have on human beings in United States of America, the first thing that they have to do is to consider the drug consumption as it is. It is a doctor's problem. It is a social problem. And the main subject of this action of any government, in the case of drug consumption, are patients, are the ones that consume it. And we ask ourselves, and we have done it several times, and we have heard Nicolas Maduro to say that, and we have heard many people in the United States, how is that never they are fighting the traffic of this substance in the place where they are most consumed in the whole world. How is it possible that narco traffic is not being fight in the United States? Isn't that curious? Someone sometime has noticed or have read in some uh, means of communication in USA or another country that some bank was seized because they had this amount of money due to the narco traffic. Do they seize this kind of condos or constructions if they say that the modern city of Miami was wholly constructed by the narco traffic of the years 70 and 80? Even there was a study done of the bills that were circulating in USA, and a big percentage, over 60-70% of these bills, were they were having some signs of cocaine in its surface. That's the hypocrisy. If they had shortened the funds to assist people that have any kind of disease, an addiction, etc., if the actual epidemic of drug consumption in USA, it is not due to the boost of cocaine or marijuana. That is an epidemic, an addiction epidemic of opiates that are different to the ones that are derived from opium, in this case the fentanyl. That actual epidemic in USA of fentanyl addiction, it is due to the abuse of the big pharmaceutics, North American pharmaceutics, who sold indiscriminated opiates during 80s and 90s, and the government of USA and the Federal Drugs and Food Agency allowed this agency to put in their boxes this medicine is not addictive, and they had morphine, codeine, and fentanyl. The traveling of these painkillers that were consuming housewives, students, workers with any kind of pain because of their working conditions, to this kind of drug was the first step in drug consumption. This was signed, lawmen and all people that is with us, compelling us to know the hypocrisy, because supposedly they had the 20% of their army in a sea that has been characterized along its history, recent history, the last 100 years, to be a Pacific Sea, that it is a home country that have declared this territory, this sea, as a peace territory. And our call, our yell, our insistence, and our will is that we all fight for the Caribbean to be a peaceful zone that we deserve. That military deployment is using the narco traffic that they are not fighting in their roots, in their origin, to attack Venezuela. That is not a drug producer, and neither a country that has an important problem in consumption. And also, it had been certified by all the institutions, serious institutions, that were this topic in the world, including United Nations, that every time they have less attention and they listen less, who they don't care about the hegemon. I said it is important that there are in here some representative of Nazi victims in here, because they can't hang the international order, they can't hang the international right. But inclusive organization from United Nations that had pointed out that Venezuela not only has a very low level of traffic or transit of this, but also it is a country that more combat the narco traffic. Since the DIA came out from this consumption or this kind of production, on more than 70 tons that only in this year has been seized. So we have captured more. With the lie, they have settled unbelievable forms of aggression against the people from Venezuela, because now it is a barbarian. It is a goal, just like what they are doing close to the Caribbean countries. But Venezuela has more than 10 years suffering economical sanctions that are the new ways of blockade and siege. Like in the medium times, they put walls around the city just to people to die from hunger. Now in modernity, economical sanctions and blockade, what they want is the same goal, to kneel, to kill people, to common people. They are wars without bullets, but with a lot of victims. Venezuela has diminished its incomes in 99% during 3 years. Venezuela saw how all the wealthiness that was built by the Bolivarian Revolution was affected. Because it is a very example to the eyes of the imperialism, is that Venezuela is keeping health and the right to health, education and the right to education, food and the right to food, culture, sport, as right, human rights, absolutely free all over the territory. Maybe as it didn't work, you saw that on Venezuela Street. They hit us hard, but we resist, and we defeat them. You have seen that in the few hours you have been here, where you went out freely and to talk freely with people on the street, and to see that at least what they economically, the damage they did, is being repaired. And this is the economy in this continent that is growing up the most. And even like that, we are going with all under this condition. We are going to do make Venezuela a prosperous country, not for us, but for everybody. In a way that always the government from USA are, are seeking for excuses, lies, the case that they make up. They made it up for the Cuban War. They made it up to pass from 500 soldiers to 500,000, and did the bloody war that they did. They never say it, but it is the truth. They did it in Iraq. And I am saying to you, lawmaker from the world, that it is your land and your homeland. Don't wait decades to be unclassify the documents, and in this unclassifying, it was not the truth. We were not fighting the narco traffic because we were lying. The same way that after hundreds of thousands of dead, they say what the destruction weapons in Iraq was a flagrant light. Let's not wait. It doesn't work while. The suffering that would means a situation of war in the Caribbean Sea. a number of consequences for everybody, not only for Venezuela, but for all the Caribbean countries, for all the countries in the continent, and also for the United States of America. It is a very deep irresponsibility that a continent like ours, that has had for decades proudly to have been in peace with so many tension zones in the world, it is now threatened in an unilateral way for on the United States of America. So I hope it would be 2 days very fruitful and with conversation and discussions. So we are very proud that you are in here with the presence also of the knowledge that you have about law, national and international law from your country. And only we are asking you, a little of your voice, to come along with us in this denounce and this truth. Venezuela is a peaceful country, but also Venezuela is a free country. Help us to keep this peace and this liberty. Thank you very much.
We're listening to the words of National Assembly President Jorge Rodriguez at this gathering, international gathering of legal experts that have come to Caracas from different parts of the world. We have, and he was mentioning this, lawyers, also students of law and other referents that were working towards the right to peace in this context of imperialist aggressions, in this context of U.S. threats against Venezuela and the Venezuelan people. Different experts have gathered in order to discuss the legal consequences and possible actions against these threats. We see now that a new speaker is taking the stand, and we are going to listen to the speech.
From different delegations, from different nations that are in here and are with us and are going to be with us these 2 days of a very deep debate, exchanging ideas, and in facing this formulated invitation from Dr. Jorge Rodriguez Gomez, President of the National Assembly. Thank you, Doctor, for allowing us to be here. Our greets also to Engineer Evangel, First Minister, Foreign Minister of Venezuela, the Deputy First Pedro Infante, Second Vice President America Perez, Deputy Luis Eduardo Martinez, and Alfonso Campos. Just like I take the advance, make use of this to the people from the National Assembly who are doing a very good job. Also, we are incorporating this debate for the invitation our magistrate from the Supreme Justice Ministry, together with judges from peace from the Republic that have invited us to participate. Men and women which were elected last 15 December 2024 to carry out justice in every corner of the country and were popularly elected. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the invitation. Also, I am greeting Esther Rodriguez. Thank you, teacher, professor. It is an honor to share with you. For me, it is an honor to direct my words to you and give you the welcome to our country, representing the High Supreme Justice. I would like to thank the invitation from Sovereignty and Peace Committee, especially to Jorge Rodriguez Gomez, President from the National Assembly of the Republic of Venezuela. Just like all deputies integrated of this iterating this organ. Also, I would like to make use of this meeting to greet all comrades presented here today. This jurists meeting, it is a space to reaffirm the necessity of the international law as the main pillar for preservation, peace preservation, cooperation between among the states. We are here to defend juridically the normative architecture that has allowed humanity to solve a conflict respecting the sovereignty. The key corner is the principle that obliges us to accomplish with treatment in which we take part, what constitutes the, the spine in the relation among countries. Also, principles like forbidding the use of force, the pacific solutions of problems, the no interference in the internal affairs of other countries, and cooperation constitute norms, imperative norms, and main norms for the international community is accepting and acknowledged. There are principles that protect common interests and cannot be violated. Its violation not only generates a responsibility of the infractors, but also it hits the humanity conscience. The international right has a wide fan of means to protect the peace and our territorial integrity. The participation of social organizations and the influence of international movement have enriched the formation of these instruments. Defending of all things, international things, as a means to unmask violence and aggression that tries to undermine legality, demands on us, juridical operators, a constant watching and a firm commitment with its principle. We must be the first to denounce the violation and the calls to work together to keep ethic and juridic values, equality among people in the world. I finish saying that international law is one of the main pillars of that humanity has gathered to get and build a world based on justice, equality, and peaceful and peace. Principle that, in spite of the attacks and the threat from the empire, has been heightened in our beloved country, Venezuela. Today we are raising our voice once more to reaffirm our commitment with life, with self-determination, and with our right to go through the way that we have selected. Thank you very much.
Those were the words of the President of the Supreme Court of Venezuela, Galicia Rodriguez Rodriguez. She was addressing this gathering, international gathering for legal experts for the right to peace in Caracas. As we were saying, one of the statements that she was making was that the jurists, the legal experts, need to be the first ones to maintain the ethical principles of the international law and also be the first ones to denounce their violations. Of course, all of this is happening in the context of the violations that are being perpetrated by U.S. forces in the bombings of different vessels in the Caribbean Sea, violations of international law that have been denounced by different nations and also organizations as well as the Human Rights Organization of the United Nations. Now we see how the Foreign Minister of Venezuela, Ivan Gil, is about to speak. Let's listen.
Mr. President of the National Assembly from the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Jorge Rodriguez, judges, President of the Supreme Justice, Carilia Beatriz Rodriguez, dear member of the panel that are with us, authority from the National Assembly deputies, international jurists, ladies and gentlemen, our magistrate was written you more than a conference. I want to thank the invitation on the side of this council from Sovereignty and Peace, the invitation that was making the president of the National Assembly of Venezuela to come in here on behalf of the national, on the name of the national executive, on the name of the president Nicolas Maduro, to share with all of you, ladies and gentlemen, jurists, deputies, representative of different movement of representative of defenders of human rights of our big country and in the whole world, some elements that we have treated and it was treated also by the president of our legislature that has to do with the aggression, the try of aggression, they're trying to aggression, the one that is over, that we have not any doubt that is not only against Venezuela. Venezuela today is the middle of this aggression, the interest of the United States of North America, the imperialism to control the resources, the oil resources that there are in our land, the biggest on the earth that it is over here. But what they are configuring is an aggression against the whole humanity, against the system as we know it currently is. It is a system that was born, let's say, in 45 after the Second World War. The United Nations system as we all know it, and to establish at that time a main basis to some elements, concrete elements: peace, security, international security, international cooperation, human rights, and development. Those were the ground of the United States system after the Society of Nations failed due to precisely to the imperial pretensions at that time, from Japan invading China, Italy invading also Germany, making rearming and making the Second World War that cost what we all know, 50 million of victims in Europe. And from then on, what is called international community created this system of United Nations that today is the one that is at stake. We are coming from years of violation, despite for international system, and a weakness for international system that was taken by a bureaucracy for a gestion system that was imposed by potencies that they didn't do their work, and that today we are seeing the consequences. Then what is at stake today in Latin America and the Caribbean, it is precisely stability and peace of the world. Because in the first place, the violation of the peace zone of Latin America and the Caribbean that we have said a lot on all these the last weeks, last 2 months, that is being threatened with an unusual deployment of military forces that maybe we didn't know in our region since in 1815, Pablo Morillo sieged the Cartagena city with 60 vessels, war vessels, and with between 10,000 or 16,000 of men and weapons. Another imperial came in order to submit countries who decided to be free. Today, we are imposed by warship, the death specialist, missiles, killings, nuclear submarines, killing machines, than a carrier with a destructive capacity that I say again, it requires the mobilization of jurists, of the whole society, of people from our America, because of the serious thing that would be an aggression against a country, like a sovereign country like Venezuela. It could generate, first of all, a destabilization, political destabilization, social destabilization that it wouldn't be. Not, not would be in Venezuela just the most serious country. We have seen last week called by President, Commander-in-Chief of the Bolivarian forces, the head of state. We have seen the mobilization, the biggest one that we have known in the last time. Millions of men and women came out to defend the peace that we have conquered so much effort and work for 200 years of independence. But the same luck is not going to be run by some brother countries where they will unleash a very worrisome process that could generate maybe the biggest of the insurrections that we could know during these 200 years of Republican life that, that we have in our Latin America. And that's why we are telling the North America, take notice of this because we're ready. Legality is supporting us too. Sovereignty is supporting, moral is supporting us. And the way that you as judgmen are going to do today or tomorrow, for that it means a lot. Because we have to face one side the popular mobilization, the popular unity, the fusion that we have, the military people and police that we have in our country allows us to dissuade any kind of aggression. But also we have to fight in what we believe, in the space that we believe, in the international law. And you, of course, are the cutting edge in this sense. And also, in this narration, that they are trying to build, or as we are used to say, as our president of the National Assembly said, that we have seen that the imperialism goes to in different part of the world in all its history. They make up a narrative that is a violation of human rights and the rights of the fishermen, the sea workers in our Caribbean. That is the killing. It has no other name. The experts from the United States are the extrajudicial execution, but they are killings, vile killings, vindicted by a political leadership of country that is a member of the United Nations that vindicate the killing as an achievement. That small boats, no matter if they are carrying illicit merchandises, maybe oil, maybe trade merchandise in the Caribbean, they haven't had the right to defend itself. Not even. They have shown if they were carrying any kind or they were doing any crime in international waters. Moreover, you know more than me about that. The violation of rights in the sea. They have violated all, each one of the international law, as we know. And this deserves an action. a judicial action. If if I can say that, I don't know, but it deserves a political action that we are doing, a defending action that we are doing to defend the human rights that we are doing, and a juridic action that we have to do, whatever it should be done, because there is penal responsibility in this action, and it's necessary the world to know it. From the one who gives the order to the one who pulls the trigger, and it's necessary the word to acknowledge it. It's necessary the word to point it out, and it's necessary the word to punish it. And as you call the jurisprudence, international jurisprudence is very wide. I was talking with the Vice President Pedro Infante from the trials, from Nuremberg trials. They have seen a doctrine of to determine the responsibility in events of this kind. Because all the ones who were judged on this Nazi Germany was judged because due to crimes against humanity, against life at the beginning, they said they were orders that they received from superiors, and it was shown in all cases that it was not like that. So we have to focus to determine the responsibility. This battle is going to keep on in all ways. We are sure that we are going to win it in the political way, in the social way, in the juridical way. And violence and the force use, the threat that is forbidden also for the United Nations Charter in its second chapter, that it forbidden the states to use the force or threat against another states, because it is necessary. We have said that in many occasions that this is not a confrontation, because I have heard many times that regretfully the speaker, loudspeaker, that he wanted to de-escalate the situation, that both parties would drop the tensions, as it was, as if it was a kind of confrontation between those two states, and there is not a confrontation. There is not a controversy between two states. Venezuela has not a controversy against the United States. Venezuela is a sovereign and free country that is tried to be attacked on unilateral way by a country member of the United Nations that is using its capacity to generate killings to threat another country. There is no tensions that must be solved with de-escalation, or a dialogue that must be established between two sides that are disputing something, international. What we have in here is an invading attack in violation of all international principles of the right of the law that we know, and we have to be firm in that. And we are going to act in United Nations precisely to demand that call things by its names, and the United Nations organs act, functioning according to what is happening, and don't try to put an idea that is a confrontation between two states and must be solved through the dialogue. The try of aggression must be stopped by law, to apply the right, to assume responsibility of this case. And law also has to act to determine the killings in the Caribbean, who were the responsible ones in the leading chain, and the executions. because we also see a daily declaration in which they self-incriminate. We say uh, officials from the imperial potency to saying that they were the author of this crime that we are seeing on TV, and they call it on TV, but the social web every day. So that I think that this for in all ways they more than me about the international law, the juridical framework that we are facing to design a strategy with its respective stages so that we can stop with by law this trying of aggression against a sovereign and free country as it is the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela that is going to overcome facing this situation. Thank you very much.
Words of the Foreign Minister of Venezuela, Ivan Gil, as he was stating that there is no confrontation between two states that needs to be stopped by dialogue. There are given crimes that need to be stopped by the exercise of the law, in this case, the international law. Ivan Gil, in this case, was addressing this international gathering of legal experts, lawmakers, organizations in defense of human rights that are set to discuss in Caracas 2 days of debate regarding the importance of international law and their actions in the face of this current threat that Venezuela, but really the region itself, is receiving on the part of the United States and its military presence in the Caribbean, also the extrajudicial execution. So let's listen to the continuation of this gathering.
It is an honor to be here during this day that I think it's going to be unforgettable. First place, I would like to thank to all the people who organized this event because the effort that they did. Second place, all authorities, top authorities that are heading in this act for the coming here with us, and of course to all of you because of being here for the interest, and above all to the Venezuelan people because due to its example. Warm greetings. I think not to be confused when I say that we all the ones that are in here over here, because the last drop flew the gates. Because we have all the conviction, we have find ways to put a limit to this plan. That is it seems to be a national devastation. The unilateral and threat from USA with the pretext of drug fighting violate the state of law internationally and have a direct impact on human rights in Latin America and the Caribbean. It also warm its sovereignty, controversy, specifically solutions, and the United Nations Charter. Last September, a group of organizations, jurists, and different personalities from the international law sent a letter to the High Commissioner from Human Rights to speak about the respect. We remember him that their own office against fighting against drug. In their report, they say that Venezuela was far from narco traffic and cultivation of this kind of substances. On the other hand, United States is the highest consumer of drugs, and they have a lot of money just due to this criminal business. According to the president of this National Assembly, we have never seen, not only in the action that he has mentioned, we have never seen an invasion to any of the multiple laundry money paradises. We also the North American financial system have a high percentage of money coming from crime. As Zaffaroni doctor said, they wash the money and we put the dead ones. We also point out in that letter that these actions are against openly against the principle of the United Nations Charter that was mentioned here before, 2.1 article and 2.4, the Manisha Declaration, according to international controversies in 1982, the International Pact of Human, Civils, and Politicals from United Nations, December 16, 1916, and the International Commission to the Right of all Migrated Workers and their Families by United Nations, Resolution 45 bar Vienna Convention about diplomatic violation that guarantee the inviolability of the states, 25 resolution that contains the principle of international law against political independence of the state and the fomentation of activities to submit another state for order with violence. Also, the treatment to prohibit the prohibition of nuclear weapons in the Caribbean from 1967. We have to clear up that if United States is not apart from here, he have signed the protocol number 2. It signed in 1977 and they ratified in 1981. He must expect that this region is free from weapons and they can use it for any country that integrates it. We also remember that has been declared by the second summit of CELAC in 2014, Latin America and Caribbean is a peace zone. That's why we are rejecting the actions that are threatening the life of the people. That's why we were calling to reaffirm urgently the primacy of the international law, the right to the human rights, and the principle of respect, the self-determination and no intervention in the internal affairs of the states. Then, less from mitigate the belligerence, the United States has carried out some mortar attacks against vessels and boats that, according to Trump government, are for trafficking drugs without proof about it. And as it was said in here, the expert group of United States has qualified these killings as extrajudicial killings. Then it is an international crime. Then we should remember that all foreign interference in this territory of a sovereign state constitute a violation of the international law and the Charter of the United Nations. The threat from USA is a violation to the right of the people to the self-determination. It's the clear objective. Colombia and Venezuela have the right to define their orientation, social orientation. From states that deny that to submit to their interests, they impose the force. In international, Colombia has sought to consolidate the international relation, to unify alliances. It is precisely this self-autonomy that make his government to be a political goal, because having the major reservation in the world. We have the right to defend and demand the rights of the people. We are formed because due to that. Jurists have a very important function to accomplish in this phase of the imperialism renewed, but he is weakened by the crisis systematically. And something that now looks irreversible. Social civic social organizations have to take that protagonist role that sometimes it have in the 70s and 80s. And they have gotten the most important roles in America. It was the place where they fought against the cruelest dictatorship that were created by United States also. Today, they are instrumentalizing narco traffic to interfere in other countries, even to justify a direct intervention, military intervention in this country. They cannot use, because the state that is vulnerated by the Zionism. I have a first proposal that is floating on air that is confirming an active league for the international order. It is here now. It is here in Caracas because today we are defending liberty, sovereignty, and the life of our people. Where peace is the vision of the United Nations organization as it emerges from the first paragraph in this charter. In the sixth chapter, is controversy must be mended pacifically, and sanctions the action that the Security Council have to take in case of breaking peace or aggression cases. Better said, for the ones at Article 41-42 establish a serial of measures, from economical measures, even the use of force, to establish peace and international security. As we have said, there are the rules of a community that have built after horror and extermination after the World War. Of the foreign ministry have said more than 60 million of dead people. I would like to remember that only the Soviet Union put 27 million of dead people. And this is something that they want to erase from the history. In spite of that, the Russian Federation has never done that kind of genocide. Together with this international status, just from Nuremberg, in their second chapter, originated the conspiration against the peace. It said it was painted the persecution of aggression, of violation, word, violating treatment or international treatments, with the participation in a complot or a concerted plan to perpetrate any kind of these acts. Painfully, that text was not conserved, though in its fifth article, when it established crime that were under their law, the number 4, that is an aggression crime. This crime against peace and security of the humanity, the first proposal was written in 1964, was adopted by the international law in the United Nations in their 48 section in 1946. 96. That instrument, in the second article, the acts that constitute that crime, that would consider as such inhuman, such as killing, extermination, slavery, deportation, or persecution against any population, civil population, due to religious or any other kind of crime. I would like to say a second proposal as an answer to the foreign minister, that in this meeting we can get a group of words to elaborate a denounce to the International Court against the President Trump, Marco Rubio, and only one who result material or intellectual author, direct or indirect, of these crimes described at the beginning of this meeting. I would always denounce interference, CIA activities and other agencies in state coup in our America. We have denounced the invasions, operations through different organizations, but never before we have seen that they are announcing that loudly. They have done a psychological war without with not seen before, and the terror they want to spread is another crime. That is another kind of thing we cannot forget. Power is consolidated by the submission of the people that is weak. It is an example that could be the reality in Haiti or in my country, where many people who are ruling this government are submitted, and it is the painful one, a portion of the population. And to the one who has not done it, they have prepared a repression apparatus for us. And they are thinking and instrumenting the penal right. We can let to be taken from our hands the international rights and the right to live in peace and the right for the sovereignty and the self-determination of our people. Our four heroes fought for our liberty, and it is our turn to demand and delegate and to see for the efficiency. Only like that we can survive having national projects of development to recover the self-esteem of our people, to build a society free of impunity, free of misery, where the most important of the right is alive, the right to life. Then I think it would be a very fruitful meeting. Thank you very much.
Of Claudia Roca, the president of the Argentine branch of the American Association of Jurists or Law Experts. She was addressing this international gathering of law experts that is seeking to address the aggressions posed by the United States against Venezuela and also the Caribbean region as a whole. She was, among her statements and the evaluations that she was making of the current threats, proposing the denunciation, the presentation of a denunciation of President Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio before the International Criminal Court for their violations of international law. Several of the speakers were highlighting not only the importance, but the way in which, for the first time in history, these crimes have been boosted and just showcased in social media with no precedence. This is part of the hybrid war. Let's continue listening to the gathering.
As the president announced, there are here also students from some of the Venezuelan universities. That's something very important in these times, because for professors from the right, international right, it is very difficult in this day to give one class. It is very good for young people are listening to us, because as the president of the assembly, I say that because this is my second country. I can say that. As he said, it is very difficult. I want to start this idea as a position that painfully is going to be reiterated from the first, the second, the president of the foreign minister, and the excellency, Mikaso, the teacher, and everything. We all are going to speak about the same language. I think that luckily, because we have consensus about this, and painfully, you can bore you, one of you who can hear new things. Maybe we're going to achieve it, maybe, but it is centered in everything. I would like to express above all my gratefulness for the invitation to this magnum event and in 20 years of professor, I never have seen many lawmen just defending the international right. And sitting, I was remembering how proud would feel professor investigator from International Public Right de Venezuela, Fermín del Toro Jiménez. Together with him and under his leadership, we opened more than 10 years ago a master degree in Venezuela University. We have groups in different states. We were giving classes. He making extraordinary effort, and I liked a lot what the Bolivarian Venezuela of Venezuela published about him at the moment of his passing away. It changed the landscape of an integral Venezuela, a principled man, a brilliant academic, a defender of his country, but above all, emerging is going away. He was really Fermin, a big teacher of international law from Venezuela and all Latin America and the Caribbean. We from Cuba read most of his books, and there are some of the ideas that I'm going to share that will come from him. Because he was a defender of sovereignty and peace. Before starting my ideas, I would like to share something very personal. Some days ago, when I was coming out from Santiago de Cuba, where the East University is there in Cuba, when I was coming, it was entering a vessel in the bay, a vessel that was coming from here, carrying cooperation and help. Because 2 weeks ago there was a terrible hurricane, Melissa, who erased the east part of Cuba. It was very beautiful and contrast. A vessel is entering at the bay bringing love, and as Commander-in-Chief, Chavez said, love is paid back with love. That's why I had to be here, giving my opinion. And in contrast, there are another ship that are in the Caribbean Sea, then killing extrajudicially people, violating the international law. I start here. We are gathering here in a very serious moment for peace and security, also to the self-determination of our region. The growing deployment of USA Army in the Caribbean Sea, presented as a league security operation or narco-traffic fight, in reality, it is an aggression with an imperial character that is hurting the juridical law. We all are the ones who guarantee these ideas to see the international from an international point of view, the illegality of this action, what implies this deployment to violate the international law, in which are the violation to prohibit the threat and the use of force, the principle of equality, and to propose the proposal of a framework from since multilateralism, regional multilateralism, committed with the proclamation of the region as a peace zone. We should, in this context, to redesign tools from since the international law, diplomatic actions, to states from America Latina and Caribbean can develop and save their sovereignty. We are moved by the unbreakable defense of the Charter of the United States and the principles that have guided relations among states since the end of the Second World War. The Council, the Foreign Minister was saying that. That's why we are boarding We are speaking about these violations specifically to the United Nations Charter and other international norms, the crucial role of multilateralism, and finally, some juridical actions that we have to boost. There are two that were exposed, and I will sum up other ones. And I like that they will float over here, and I think that they will land in your hearts. The Caribbean region, historically, it's true that in the last 10 years, with a lot of people, but before, it was scenery from some rivalry. We have to see the history. In these days, it's facing a new military escalade, and some politicals and academics, they have called it an imperial threat. This dynamic not only is affecting stability in the region, but also constitute a challenge, a direct challenge, to the main things of international right. This deployment of U.S. has no ground in the contemporary right. Its nature is illegal, and it is in a framework of a doctrine of hegemony and control. Among the points to be highlighted, we can say the following ones. First, there is an absence of invitation and consensus in this deployment based on transparent agreement. The military presence, United States presence, it is international waters, but with a clear goal to projection of a power to the coast states when it's made without any kind of agreement, public agreement, or under pressures, economic pressures. The counseling cannot be said that is legitimate. This could be configured as a violation to the equality principle, and it hurts the sovereignty of a country with subject of international right. It is a coercion act. It is due to the presence of these warship, planes, and all military actives amidst the Caribbean states. It is an interference of our internal affairs. It looks for threatened sovereignty of governments, international alliance, and to dissuade political options that Washington consider not likely to their interests. This conduct violates the principle of no-intervention that is written in Article 19 in the United Nations Charter and 25/ in United Nations Assembly. It constitutes a threat to peace and security in the region. The militarization of a maritime space that for nature it is a peace zone and development constitutes a threat to regional security. It generates a spiral of unbelieving, and it makes the states just put resources to defense, and they could be incidents that could escalate to international conflicts. From the contemporary right, international right, it is a violation of the United Nations Charter. I would say that the Charter is the cutting edge of the international law. Action from United States in the Caribbean constitute a violation, systematic violation of its most essential principles, and it's not new. There is a North American-based territory that has been, I would say, stolen from Cuba many years. For instance, the Article number 2 is violated. The principle of sovereign equality. Without consultation with the regional mechanism and despising to the small countries in the Caribbean is a negation of this principle. United States is acting as if its power confers them a higher status, violating the jurisdiction of all states. However, however, they are not acting according to the Article 2, paragraph number 3, the obligation to solve pacifically controversies. The projection of military force is against the pacific solution of controversies, instead of go to diplomatic or good offices. United States requires to show the force as a foreign policy instrument, remembering that from 1945 there is no use ad bellum, there is no right to war. It is not known by the empire. Of course, it doesn't know the 2.4 article, the prohibition that I have seen many times in here, to forbidding the use of force, and more than that, we cannot even to threat of using it. That is the nucleus, the core of San Francisco letter. The International Justice Court, according to the Nicaragua case against the United States in 1986, established firmly that not only the use of force is forbidden, but only to threaten to do it. The presence of carriers, naval drills close to coast of sovereign state in terms of the article number 2 from the charter also certificates the consultative opinion about the same court of using nuclear weapons in 1996, when it says that a legal threat exists if the use of force is illegal. Theoretically, they used to include force or threat to use the force or sanctions, unilateral sanctions. That is something that happened once and once again. With the express objectives to change, to have a change, socio-political change, and the private declaration that are saying the necessity of an armed intervention is a classic example of use of force. There are many examples of how they have used this method against many people and governments in the Caribbean and Latin America, and even a few days ago. On the other side, we have to acknowledge that no very time the same UN Charter has been used to develop force against other countries. United States used to justify its action under the umbrella of self-defense, but Article 51 is a strict exception to the forbidding, and only is applied facing an attack, imminent or real. No states in the Caribbean have threatened or done any attack against the United States. That is why to invoke legitimate defense, to deploy forces in the Caribbean, it is something that has no ground, it is groundless. On the other side, they are also attempting against a principle of the international law, the equalities and sovereignty of all states. That principle, the second, it is a spine of this system. It implies that all states, in spite of their size or power, they have the same rights in territorial integrity, independence, no intervention in their internal affairs. This declaration to cooperation and friendship among the states, according to the United Nations Charter from 1997, developed this principle. And they say that all state has the right to respect the personality of the other states, and that the territory of one state cannot be taken militarily or with coercive measure. It reinforces no intervention principle that constitutes and use coherent measure. No country has the right to intervene directly or indirectly, and whatsoever the motive is, in the internal affairs of another state. The action of a powerful state that wants to impose its will on the Caribbean states by means of sanctions violate this principle. The sovereignty of a Caribbean state is not negotiated and is not submitted to any kind of influence of any parents. So to take measures unilaterally condemned by many times by the United Nations 1077, it constitutes a contradictory act against the sovereign equality because it tried to bend the volunty of a state by affixing it. More than the United Nations Charter, the international law movement, many of the actions also are not very well observed by the violating one. United States of America, one of them said, I highlighted following. Some of them were exposed before in here. I think that foreign minister also said, it is the Convention of the United Nations according to the right to the sea, 1944. 169 states signed it up, a high number of United Nations. Although United States is not part, he never went to commitment with all these things. Though United States is not part of this convention, many of its dispositions, and see this very well, reflect the international right on the theme that is objecting on it. It don't take into account the Article 19, the innocent past. The past of war-shaped must be innocent, or not prejudicial to peace, the good order or security of the state that is in the coast. A hostile deployment cannot be considered an innocent past. It was Article 88 that the exclusive zone to Pacific zones, the economic exclusive zone must be used only to peaceful things. Using military maneuvers is against this principle of international law. On the other side, violated Chapultepec Act is 1945 is violated. The treatment of inter-American treatment, that also it is an instrument in which United States credibility is low. They has been ignored by Washington, who is using this mechanism for their interests. The truth is that few nothing could be hoped from what we have to activate strongly is the regional multilateralism, the Latin American and Caribbean, facing this military escalade of the United States in the Caribbean. Facing just the unilateral power of the North, the answer must be a collective one, firm and based on our own institutions. Facing all these asymmetric powers and threats, the regional multilateralism has emerged as a main force, promoting an international order with more justice. The Community of Latin American Countries, CELAC, as a representative forum of the 33 states in the region, without the presence of the potencies, extracontinental potencies, it is a space where we can build consensus and opinions. CELAC has stated in different occasions the commitment to peace and respect to the public international to political dialogue, the cooperation as tool to contrast external pressure. It's moving the central platform for at least three proposals. First, to condemn the militarization in the Caribbean Sea. In some way, it was done some days ago in Colombia. But from a diplomatic way, we have to make more declaration diplomatically. Secondly, we reaffirm the peace zone, that this region is a peace zone. We have to defend it. We have to defend this proclama as Latin America and Caribbean as a peace zone. Third, to activate the dialogue mechanism to create a common position and to take a unified voice from Latin America and Caribbean to the United Nations. UNASUR, for instance, the South American Union, though actually it is weakened in the Defense Council, represented in its time an advance in the conceptualization of autonomous defense. It is important to revitalize this spirit to dissuade any kind of attempt to fracture the Latin American unity. The ALBA, as a mechanism based on solidarity and cooperation, must play an important role in articulating the resistance, diplomatic resistance, and denouncing systematically violations. It can help as a core of action politically defending the sovereignty. The integration scheme in Central America and CARICOM are main in this case. They have the states that are directly affected are members of this. We have to achieve to them to have a very courageous posture. I can take in this term because I'm academic, and I can say openly, and you can applaud these proposals. This mechanism, integrational mechanism, are to soften the external interference they act in key stages. They reduce and their collective voice in international forums. They have a specific weight bigger than the individual ones. They are going to allow to contrast hegemonic actions. They are in essence the practical materialization of the principle of diversity unity to get the self-protection, the regional self-protection. Of all that stated, what actions, juridical actions, are we adventured to put on the air to go to fertile ground? Some diplomatic actions. First, to build a bloc diplomacy to achieve a select pursuit to face USA's. Interesting result, some points of the joint declaration celebrated in Colombia last November the 9th. I invite you to read it. Above all, point number 8 and point number 9, there are some interesting proposals. Some of the action that we have to do. To mobilize in multilateral forums, for instance, in United Nations, proposal from the before one speaker about the respect of peace zone of Latin America and the Caribbean, and to forbid the threat of force, military force in international organizations from the no-aligned countries to reactivate this forum, to support, to combat the militarization in the Caribbean. Third, to make a diplomacy of people, to throw an international campaign saying the illegality of the acting of USA in the Caribbean. There is no peace without development, and there is no development without peace. To find that civil society of Latin America and the Caribbean connect with organizations from the North American organization to mobilize against militarization in the Caribbean. As juridic actions, we can make a proposal. First, here I coincide, to call the International Justice Court through any state of the region, to call the International Court about the deployment, unilateral deployment of USA coercive in regions that are declared as peace zones. Second, to check the possibility to establish, Council was to establish a resource in front of the International Court. According to this military action, our acts could be aggression crimes. It could be done. This is a concept that is defined in Rome Statutes. States can explore the possibility to present a communication to the prosecutors about aggression crime. It is complex, but to present it has a high political value of denouncing. Third, also to create an international judges panel that could be, this is the starting point, to establish an independent commission of experts in international law, as all the ones that are sitting in here, to make a detailed report a report for the violation as the ground document for all the next violation to come. Let's remember that the opinion, international, or the opinion of the expert, it is a source for the international law. According to the 30th article of the International Court of Justice, it has the value, it has weight, the opinion, our opinion. Number 4, we have also to strengthen the mechanism of regional controversies, to deal with conflicts, showing that the region have their own tools and they don't need from teaching from other countries. As a final idea, I would like to that the battle that we are facing is not only a political one. It is, above all things, a juridical battle, an ethic battle. It is the defense that civilization facing to the barbary, the law of the strongest one, the deployment the military deployment of USA in the Caribbean is something anachronic in the 21st century, something from another epoch that we thought it was superated. We have identified precisely the violation to the charter, to the right of the sea, to the principle of non-intervention. We had the precedents of Nicaragua against USA. What we need now, it is the political volunteer, moral, juridic, and the knowledge of all of you to mobilize and to win this battle for our people. The road is the multilateralism, the union, and the use of the tools that the international right is given from selecting the international court. We have many mechanisms, peaceful mechanisms to defend our sovereignty as jurists of Latin America and the Caribbean and all the world, we have a historical duty to be the voice of the law facing the force, reason facing intimidation, peace facing aggression. All these ideas must not be the speech, but a starting point to a coordination and firm action to defend our right to exist as sovereign and peace countries, to reach development of all our countries. Let's remember Chavez when he made a proposal to refound the United Nations. Let's work all together to refound the international law. Thank you very much.
Those were the words of Freder Santana, Vice President of the Cuban Society of Public International Law. He was highlighting as other lawmakers and legal experts gathering here in Caracas in this international meeting of law experts regarding the aggressions of the U.S. in the Caribbean, the extrajudicial executions that have been pointed out by different experts, also from the UN. In this case, he was highlighting, for example, the illegal essence of that military deployment in the Caribbean made by the United States on different accounts and the necessity to strengthen the international coordination in the international arena. Let's continue to listen to the President of the National Assembly of Venezuela, Jorge Rodriguez.
This activity of this meeting, who are defending the international right, we were saying to Claudia Roca for her what she said, her proposal that cannot fall in open sacks, but be part of the conclusion of this event at the closure. And when they redacted this document that we have to present to all of you, to Dr. Frei Santana also, for his reflections, very deep one, according to the international situation of the international law and the right of the people that live in this America and the Caribbean Sea. I really appreciate the words from the President of the Supreme, Ivan Hill, our Foreign Minister, and I think it is very well the way that we are starting this event that is going to take another activities beyond the word, beyond the, to call us to be more united. We were hearing Claudia Frei. I was remembering that poem that is considered as the most political poem from Rubén Darío, who was always writing to love, flowers. And because of the indignation that he had when he was called the Hispanic American, he wrote back to Roosevelt, and we remember from our time the first letter that Rubén Darío said to the United States, "You are the United States, you are the future invader." From the naive America that is praying to Jesus Christ, that still speaks in Spanish and that still have indigenous blood. We are the America that are proud of our indigenous blood that speak Spanish, but maybe in French and on other languages, mainly in the Caribbean zone. Still we pray to our gods. Only one thing we have lost since Rubén Darío wrote this poem. After decades of invasions and military aggressions, from state coups, from dictatorship, we have lost, disapfortunately, the naive. Now, let's develop this event in the time to come. We are very proud of all of you. We make the first pause and keep up enjoying this country that is something like you.
address this first stage of this gathering of legal experts in Caracas. Let's recall that legal experts, lawmakers from across the Americas were gathering in Caracas in order to address the legal repercussions to international law of what we've been seeing in the face of these ongoing aggressions and threats from the United States to the region in general, to Venezuela in particular. Many of them have addressed the extrajudicial killings that have been taking place, over 70 deaths in the Caribbean on the past month. And many of them have also highlighted the characteristic that these crimes have been just being described in social networks by U.S. authorities. This is unprecedented in international law as this. So many of these have been just calling to the international repercussions and the need to strengthen coordination. Some of the speakers also propose the possibility of denouncing President Donald Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio before the International Criminal Court. We've been seeing these gathering in Caracas, and we will continue to inform and report on everything that is happening. So stay tuned with teleSUR English.